Oh gosh, I still have goosebumps just when you were just bringing it up. I
Stay tuned to hear Sam's journey to becoming a master pool instructor and coaching the sport's rising stars. We talk fundamentals, fitness, Olympic dreams, and the unconventional advice that might just change your game. Welcome to Cue the Experts, the pool improvement podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of players and instructors who've dedicated themselves to mastering the sport. I'm Jeremiah Gage.
I'm Digital Dave.
And today we're joined by Samm Vidal in Colorado. She's an accomplished player, a master PBIA instructor, winner of the Jerry Bryseth Instructor of the Year Award, and the national team coach for the U.S. junior team. And she's been very involved with junior pool and helping grow the sport for quite a while now. Thanks for joining us, Samm.
Thanks for having me.
So we like to kick things off with an interesting question. If pool tables could talk, what do you think yours would say about your game?
Mine would probably be telling me that it missed me a lot. I don't really get a lot of time on the table these days.
Yeah, has it been a while since you competed?
For sure, on a serious competitive level. I made kind of a poor choice last year and joined the straight pool league. We have a Denver straight pool league. I say it was a poor choice because I think there was a record number of league players that session. So it was like a 6-month long session. And the matches are the way the format is, you play 2 matches to whatever your handicap is. So at one point I was playing like 100-point match versus, anywhere from 30 to 75 or something like that. And the matches, you play 2 games. So one match is 2 games. So they would be 4-hour-long matches. And I didn't realize what I'd gotten myself into. And so this was 6 months long. And it was a schedule your own format. So it's not like you show up every Monday night or whatever the designated league weeknight is. You just reach out to your opponent for that week and schedule. Well, I had so many makeup matches to do because I was gone for junior nationals, worlds, and a bunch of different events. I never leave I didn't travel or get on a plane for 4 years, but this last year has been a bit bananas. But I was gone so much that by December, we had to have all the matches in by, I think it was like December 6th or 7th. And that week, Mark's like, so what's your schedule look like this week? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much playing straight pool full time. I had 9 makeup matches to do in that last week. But I got them done. And by the end of that session, though, I was in dead stroke. But then it was, then that was the end.
So now that's why you say the pool table says that it misses you.
It's always missed me up to that point. But yeah, I wish I had more time to play.
Moscone would be proud of all that straight pool.
Yeah. Right.
So let's get into background just a little bit to set the stage for anybody that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
What initially drove you to study cue sports, and what attracted you to the sport and kept you improving early on?
Sure. So I, among many top players, started playing pool kind of in my teens, but not seriously for me. So, typical misspent youth. I actually started the first time I think I picked up a pool cue. I was in high school, and I grew up playing the violin all my life and played in a private orchestra.
Wow.
And so we would meet for rehearsal. It was actually a strolling strings orchestra. And called Varsity Strolling Strings. And we would meet for rehearsals every, I believe it was like Monday night or something, from 7:30 to 10 or whatever. And my mom would drop me off, and I would sneak to the all ages pool room with some of my older friends that had a car and that could drive. And, we'd get back just in time to be walking out with my case for my mom to pick me up and get in the car. So that was kind of my first taste of pool. And after high school, I actually taught violin lessons for about 10 years. And when I was in my mid 20s was probably when I got serious. So I feel like I started, I dabbled very young, but then I didn't get serious into the game until I felt like I was kind of late compared to nowadays, right? So I was in my mid 20s. I was working for an insurance company. My position was eliminated, and there was this other position similar in a different department. Everyone just kind of assumed I would just kind of interview for this other position. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try this pool thing for a year and go on unemployment and see what happens. And I've never looked back. So that was the last time I was in corporate America. And but basically, to kind of answer your question, during that year, I had a lot of opportunities to work with some top instructors in the country. Tom Ross at the time, pre-stroke, and Bob Keller. But yeah, so I had some direction and some mentors of my own, and was in a very fortunate situation where, I didn't have any responsibilities and definitely didn't have any kids at the time. We had a dog, and I had a young, healthy back. So I just played pool 80 hours a week, and I would set up the same shot and shoot it hundreds of times in a row. And I was pretty obsessed. And after 18 months, won my first national title. So, transitioning to teaching for me was kind of very organic because I was already teaching violin lessons, and I've always felt like because I was still learning as I was going along, I wasn't too disconnected from what it was like to learn and to be a student of the game. So yeah, all those things. I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, you had already had some experience with violin, and that's an interesting. It's not a sport; it's a musical instrument. And I can't say I don't know much about playing like a violin, but I assume you
Yeah.
used to. It's a similar like a kind of light grip, right?
It is. That's funny you mentioned that because so Tom Ross used to be the house pro at Shakespeare's, and I'm really dating myself here. So Shakespeare's in Denver, and which at the time was very near, the original Shakespeare's was very near the Denver Center for Performing Arts. And he actually, I think at one point he dated a string player, a violinist, but he would get string players in there a lot from the orchestra. And he said, he would say there were a lot of parallels between, the way that you hold a bow versus your pool stroke. And yeah, so that's funny you caught on to that.
And even like a rhythmic thing where you don't want to jerk it or be tight. You want to be loose. Yeah, interesting parallels.
Oh, that's just what do you think through your pool journey? What your biggest accomplishment was, and how did it feel?
Oh, well, by far, being recognized for the Jerry Bryseth Instructor of the Year award this last summer. Um, I, after 20 years, can officially finally say that I'm teaching pool full time as my full time occupation. In fact, I mean, it still kind of blows my mind. In fact, I had a lesson. I have like an online schedule on my website where people just book directly from the website. And in fact, I had a lesson this weekend that booked out through April. So like, this is crazy. This has never happened before. It's a little scary sometimes because I need to kind of readjust my availability because if a kid gets sick or, if I have to reschedule, it's really hard to kind of fit people back in. But, just being among the company of some of my mentors and the instructors that I learned from was just the biggest honor the biggest accomplishment I could have
Well,
asked.
on the back end of that, you said you got that in the summer, but you followed that up with a junior world championship being with Sophia Mast, and you guys went down to Australia, took on a Savannah Easton in the final, and that was huge. So, I mean, if you're going to put that ahead of the accomplishment of actually getting somebody to a junior world title, and I don't know if that's your first world title or not, but a lot of people all over the world ended up watching that, and I found it very entertaining, and I was blown away at the support, at the accomplishment, and the victory of it. Do you have any comments about how that made you feel?
Yeah, oh gosh, I still have goosebumps just when you were just bringing it up. I don't claim that as my accomplishment because I wasn't the one out there doing the work. I don't like to take credit for her accomplishments. She's really, truly remarkable, Sophia, and very, very special. We've done a lot together over the last year. That has also been an honor, to be a part of her journey and to feel like I've contributed in some way. But yeah, that for me, that was, so the year before that, we came back with a silver and two bronzes. And this year we had a gold and two silvers. So
That was a long trip going all the way to Australia. Was the one the previous not so far away?
it was in New Zealand actually. But last year, the year previous to that was in Austria.
Right on. Well, I mean, if you're are complimenting and somebody's journey, being an instructor, what's the one thing that you would say that improved your game the most, that you may have related to the students that you've seen improve their game the most?
I guess, fundamentals are really critical, right? As an instructor, I'm sure, Jeremiah, you can relate to this, where you get a student who comes to you and says, I just need help with banking. That's
Yeah,
all.
all the time.
And meanwhile,
Jumping
they
usually.
shoot a straight in shot because they don't have consistent mechanics. So, I mean, just really, I feel like I kind of joke about this a lot, even in our boot camps with Dr. Dave, but I always say I have mom eyes, so I see everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like one of my strengths as an instructor would probably be just that I have a good attention to detail. And so I notice a lot of details in terms of mechanics and stroke and stuff like that. Even I love watching and studying the pros and, and especially when they show their human side too, and they make mistakes too, and when their mechanics break down exactly. But so I guess the biggest thing would just be when I got to the point where I felt like I had more consistent mechanics. That was kind of the turning point for sure.
And bringing it back a bit, do you have any stories about the spark to get involved with junior billiards or instructing junior players?
Yeah, for sure. I was involved with the Billiard Education Foundation for many years as the executive director. Took a step away to focus on my family. And a couple years ago, Shane Tyree came and said, Sam, would like you to be on the board. I think you'd be a good addition. And we have the most effective board right now. I mean, it's just every single member of the board is just committed to and dedicated to helping the BF and junior billiards thrive. And I think you can really see it in the progress that across the nation that that junior pool has really made the impact on a lot of young players. I keep saying that I wish I had this board when I was executive director, but I feel like I'm making a much bigger impact now as a board member than I ever did as the executive director. It's incredible. And so as part of this commitment, I have the great honor of serving as our North American team leader and also our U.S. Junior coach for Team USA, which is a really great honor. And, prior to that, or kind of as this all unfolded, I met Sophia at Junior Nationals. It was actually the tail end of Junior Nationals, and we were sitting together, kind of just a group of juniors and myself kind of hanging out at the end of the event. And I was already super impressed with her, her decision making, her safety play, her speed. I mean, just super savvy. And again, this was my first event back in probably about 6 years. Um, I hadn't seen her play in person or Savannah, and I'm sitting next to her, and I can tell this story because we've already joked about it before, but I look over and I think she was eating like a cheeseburger or something, like fries, and I don't even remember, but I was thinking, oh, if I could just get my hands on this girl. Like she's already got the skills. If I could just instill just a little bit of discipline and incorporate a little bit of health and wellness and fitness into her life, like I think that I could really make an impact. And for me as an instructor, those are the things that are very rewarding, right? I'm sure Jeremiah can relate to this, that moment where you work with your player on a specific shot and you spend a bunch of time working on it, and then they execute it beautifully in a match. And then sometimes if you're lucky, you get like that little, that little glance. It's just like, so that's when I first met Sophia. And she did not qualify for Worlds that year, but Predator, the organizers of the World Championships, had extended 2 wildcard invitations to Joey Tate and Sophia. And so her dad asked if I would make her a little video just saying, you got the wild card. And in that video, I had extended an invitation to her, which was the same invitation I actually extended to all 12 players who qualified for Worlds, to come train with me and let me help you get ready for Worlds. I'd love to be a part, this is how I see my role as the team coach. I want to help however I can. And she was the only one that took me up on it. And it's funny because I spoke with her dad at length about what it would look like and what are some of the things we work on during that time. And kind of sight unseen, it was sort of a big leap of faith, but her dad just put her on a plane and shipped her out to my house for a week. And she's coming to my house, mind you, off of a historic Texas Open win, where she is the youngest female player to win the Texas Open. And she's flying straight to my house from Texas. She's already proven to be, that she's a champion and that she can make the shots and she's got the grit and she could pull it off, right? But we basically spent the whole week together where we did work on a few shots, tweaked a few things mechanically, but I really just spent a lot of time kind of getting to know her, asked her a bunch of questions about her sleep patterns and diet and what kind of food she likes to eat, stuff like that. And by the time she left, I had created sort of meal plans for her. She does online schooling, so it's really a true testament to her talent and ability, because when I asked her when we first started working together, so what do you practice now? What's your schedule like? And she was just kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of throw balls on the table. Or I'd say, well, when do you practice? Well, I don't know, just kind of when I have time. And I'm like, oh, well, when do you do school? Like, usually around here, but just when, and I'm like, how are you so talented and how have you gotten so far with, just throw balls on the table mentality? So it's a true testament to her abilities, right? Her talent. And so basically by the time she left my house, we had created a schedule for her based on what she said. Well, this is approximately how much time I spend every day on schoolwork. These are the hours. And so this is what kind of foods I like. We put meal plans together. We put a list of suggested snacks during tournaments, and just kind of started also in incorporating some some cardio, some strength training, stuff like that. And for me, especially as my body is aging, like I really have taken a bigger focus on just kind of health and fitness for myself personally. And pool is not uh, a sport or an activity that a lot of people think of as like that you have to be an athlete to participate in. But, you know, as a lot of the Europeans have shown us that if you do take care of your body, you do treat yourself as an athlete, and you do think of yourself as an athlete, you have the stamina, the endurance to last during those long tournaments, those long matches. I mean, just bending over and getting up over a pool table, if you have good core strength, you know, that's going to go a long way. But anyway, so we incorporated a lot of that stuff. And the funny thing, so here's your story, Jeremiah, is that she leaves my house after that week. She gets on the plane, goes back to Florida to her family. I don't see her again for another 6 weeks. We meet in Austria for the World Championships in 2024. I'm sorry, 23. And I look to my husband and I say, I'm sorry, that was a huge waste of time. I don't think I got through to her at all. I don't think I made a difference. I don't know why I even, I don't know why we did
Well,
that.
I have to ask, though, I mean, what did her parents think when she came back with all of that?
Well, so here's what's funny, because I hadn't talked to her or her family. You know, we both went back to our lives for the next 6 weeks and did not see each other again until we landed in Austria. And I didn't know, like, I didn't know if I made a difference at all. I didn't know if I made any kind of impact on her, if any word I said resonated with her. And it wasn't until after she actually won this, or she got the silver medal in Austria. And then a couple months later, she made this really nice post on Facebook about persons of the year, and she had mentioned her English teacher, and then she had mentioned that you know, I had helped her before she left for Worlds, and I was like, what? Really? So then I spoke at length with her dad about it, and he was like, oh, you have no idea. Like, she came back and she really took it super seriously, and you know, you were kind of what she needed, gave her that discipline that she needed, and kind of helped her kickstart things. And he was like, yeah, in hindsight, we probably should have given you some of that feedback at the time. But I mean, we were both, you know, they were getting ready for Worlds. I was getting ready for Worlds, and all the emotional labor involved and all of that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that was a big pivotal moment, I guess, because that was when they kind of came and said, yeah, we'd like you to work with Sophia as her coach, kind of on more of a consistent basis. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a dream, because all I get are teenage boys, and I'm like that mom that always wanted a girl and finally got a girl. So it's just been, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's really in the right position and trajectory to become a superstar with the excellent coaching and the right attitude.
Yeah, in the 90s when ESPN was showing a lot of female pool, there was a lot of the WBBA on there. And in fact, in my hometown of Tucson, they had a stop at La Paloma Resort, and I was able to play a rack with Iwa. It was really cool at the time because everybody was young and upstarting and coming, and I pretty much see a resurgence in it, bigger than what's been going on since. That Savannah and Sophia are going to be the battle going forward, and it'll be a great competitive deal, and it's really going to drive the sport quite a bit.
For sure, for sure.
Now, do you end up having like some distinct differences in coaching youth versus coaching adults?
So I do teach a youth billiard class at the rec center, as well as a senior class at the rec center. And for me, those are just kind of opportunities to reach a different audience of players that otherwise wouldn't have access to billiard instruction. And those are very different in terms of those players aren't looking to win tournaments and go be serious. If I am working with younger players, like we have some some youth leagues in town, and I guess the answer is probably no. It depends. I would base it more on goals versus age, because if someone is coming and wanting more of a coaching, I do offer like a monthly coaching on my website, and there's been a big demand for that recently, and especially usually at the beginning of the year, right? The New Year resolution wave. But there's been but a lot of those people sometimes are more looking for an accountability buddy, right? Where if they have someone that they're accountable for on a monthly basis. So usually I'll set up like a Google Classroom and track all their progress there, and upload homework assignments, stuff like that. And that's a little different than if I have like a one-off instruction, like a one-on-one instruction with someone. Yeah, for sure.
And you had mentioned a unique training program. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of, what I mentioned about what I'm doing with Sophia, where for her, she is a unicorn, right? She's unique. So first of all, COVID offered a lot of kids an opportunity to continue their education online and to have a very different learning experience with school to where, like now we've got Jordan Helfrey and Savannah and Sophia and these girls being able to just go back to back, travel back to tournaments. Whereas if you look at just less than a decade ago with April Larson, Brianna Miller coming up, that was a very different generation. Like if they would have been able to do online schooling when they were in high school, I mean, they're great players now, but they're both at the peak of their games now, but it could have been much sooner for them too, right? So the biggest thing that is very different and unique with what I'm doing with Sophia is kind of what I mentioned. Like, it's not just can she shoot the shots and can she does she have the mechanics? Can she make the ball? It's not about just her time on the table, but it's about her time. What is she doing outside of that? How is she I guess maintaining her body as an athlete, and what are you putting into your body, and how are you incorporating kind of wellness and fitness into your lifestyle, and just treating your body as an athlete, treating yourself as an athlete, so that you can be at peak performance, not just can you shoot the shots. Like anyone can shoot the shots, right?
Yeah, and that's what it takes to perform at peak world-class level of performance, and not just from an endurance perspective, but from also a mental, keeping yourself psychologically fit to make the right decisions and to not get too stressed during a match. So that's all comes from things like exercise and eating well too.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's
Yeah.
awesome to see that.
Mental and physical endurance, right?
Now, you had mentioned something about the U.S. national team, and sitting here in Colorado Springs in a radio studio, of course, this is Olympic City down here. I, as a longtime fan of the game, have always wondered why it wasn't in the Olympics. I would imagine that you would have a pretty good take on maybe why today versus why a long time ago, but what would your hopes and aspirations be to maybe have a U.S. team in the Olympics?
I know. Wouldn't it be incredible? I
Be
mean,
great.
I keep saying that our juniors that represent our nation at the World Championships, that's the closest thing that these kids are going to get to the Olympics until we quit getting outvoted by breakdancing, of course. But
Hobby horse.
thank you, Jeremiah.
Well, can I ask this? I think it's a known thing that the host country can go ahead and select one type of sport to go ahead and have in the Olympics. Now, that might be a way to get it in, or that might have been a way where it could have been in one other time. If I can't remember exactly, but that's one way it could happen, I would suppose.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the details. But yeah, we're working on it. I think 32. We're on the docket for 32 potentially.
Yeah, it's a battle worth fighting for sure.
Yeah.
Because we know how great the sport is. It's a bit fragmented around the world, but that's part of the beauty of it.
It is. And what's crazy is just that, there's when you compare it to a lot of the other sports that are in the Olympics, you can easily see how we belong there.
Right. I mean, you could see a great number of youth, which, it's all amateur, unless you're looking at the NBA stuff where they've got pros coming in and doing dream team and all that kind of stuff. But having Olympics is a lot of youth, and having the youth of this sport would be well represented, would look great. I think all the apparel and stuff, you look at figure skating and all the great outfits and costumes and stuff that they wear. I think there's enough creativity in pool where just the visual aspect of it being on the TV would really be inviting. It would be easy to get into background stories on people and for folks to go ahead and root for this one or root for that one or become fans of. It is a natural. We all know it, so it's just a shame that it can't be brought to fruition years ago.
Yeah.
And we know the patriotism that comes from things like the Mosconi Cup, where
Absolutely.
we're really rooting for our country. So that would be exciting.
For sure.
Well, let's get into some tips and strategies here.
Okay.
In addition to everything you've mentioned, do you have any other secrets or hidden gems that you're willing to share with us?
Gosh, I feel like there's so much great instruction out there now. There's also not so good instruction out there.
Yeah, the internet's changed things for good and for worse, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that I could, and it's not that, I want to keep it to myself. It's just I can't think of anything that I have to say that hasn't already been said.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I have not seen on pool podcasts, and I know some of the instruction stuff that Jeremiah's got in the back of his head, but isn't breathing just something so simple yet so important when you're trying to concentrate? Your mind has to get oxygen. You can have an increased heart rate because it's going to be a tough shot or the shot means so much to a match. What do you end up telling people about breathing as being an important aspect of bearing down on a shot?
Yeah, breathe. Just make sure you breathe. One of my favorite seniors at the rec center, every time he misses, I just hear this big, exhale.
Yeah.
Breathe, Dan. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe. I guess I did think of something. So one of the biggest ailments I see with pool players, one of the most common kind of mechanical things is the chicken wing, right? And I guess one thing that a lot of players that have the chicken wing maybe don't necessarily think about or incorporate, it's that our human bodies, because we are constantly on our devices or at the desk, our bodies have evolved to this, like rounded shoulders, right? And so a lot of times, just the contraction in your chest muscles pulling those shoulders forward, that alone, I see you, Jeremiah, like checking your posture just as we're talking about this, right? Like kind of just being mindful of your posture allows your elbow to be more in line for the pool shot, right? So with a lot of my students that have pretty severe chicken wing cases, I have them incorporate some stretches, any kind of chest opener stretch into their practice at night, or daily to help, just to encourage more mobility and open and relax the chest muscles to help get that elbow back a little bit more. So I guess that's a little hot tip for anybody that's dealing with the chicken wing.
So if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice at the beginning of your career, what would that be?
That might have been it,
Yeah.
actually, because I was a victim of the chicken wing myself for many years. And what's funny is Monica Webb, I remember she came through town when during this time when I was still just kind of starting up, just very, very fresh. And she also had a chicken wing. And I remember asking her about it. And she said, and at the time, she was ranked like fourth on the WPBA. She just won her first WPBA event. And she said, yeah, I know I have it. But she also had a slip stroke, so she was able to kind of get away with it a little bit and execute a lot of shots that otherwise, because if you're chicken wing, you're coming into your body, sometimes it inhibits you from getting that acceleration sometimes that you want, or shooting the shots that you want, and getting that energy through the ball. And so she basically was like, well, I know I have it, but for me right now to fix it, I would need to take a bunch of time off, and I'm not really willing to do that, which was understandable because she was at the top of her game at the time. I didn't have anyone to just tell me, look, just do some stretches, just be mindful of your posture, pull your elbow back. I basically thought, oh, I'll just pull my arm out. That's easy enough, right? But you can't just do that because you just pull your arm out and now your Q stick's going this way instead of this way across your face. So then I ended up basically chasing my cue with my stance and trying to get my head over, and I broke it all down. I changed everything. It took me about a year to recover from that. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, if someone could have given me that piece of advice when I was dealing with my chicken wing, I would have saved a lot of time and
That's
misery.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so often there's like poor mechanics or inconsistent mechanics that when you break it down, it's like, oh, well, this is causing this and this is causing this. And then a lot of times it comes down to even like your stance. And when you start changing those, then you have to retrain a lot. And so, yeah, that your game can dip a bit before it goes back up. So it can be kind of frustrating in a way, but worth it in the end because you can really see, oh, yeah, I'm hitting them way better than I was before. So,
For
yeah,
sure. And
that's
I say that a lot to my students too, where if you've never taken a pull lesson before, let's say I've got a chicken wing, it's causing my hand to come into my body, but if the cue pushes to the left, tip goes to the right. This is the most common thing, right? Like when it swings out, that elbow swings out, the hand pushes to the left. That is like the most common side effect. So I'm consistently hitting the right side of the cue ball. If I've never taken a pool lesson before, I don't know that I'm doing that. All I know is based on the results that I'm always hitting the right side of the cue ball. So maybe what my eyes think is the center of the cue ball is actually to the right of the cue ball. So now I'm just going to manually adjust to the left. So now I've coupled one issue with another issue, and who knows what's compounding.
This reminds me of me trying to fix my slice in golf.
For sure, for sure. That's like the most common, yeah, common thing that happens.
or like fixing a car engine. You're like, well, I'll just duct tape this over here. It'll be fine. Sam, you've been around pool and teaching for a long time. What's
What are you
the
trying
weird?
to say?
What's no, no? I'm leading into the next question. So with your vast experience with studying the sport and instructing, what's the weirdest advice that you've ever came across?
The weirdest, I think the weirdest, wrongest thing that I've ever been told was that my grip hand had to be at exactly the balance point of my cue stick.
Pretty far
At the
forward.
balance point?
Well, it's pretty
Whoa.
far forward unless you're playing with a commercial cue that has all of the weight in the butt of the cue, and you have a very short arm span, which is why a lot of young players, short, vertically challenged, I often will see their grip hand is way too far back because that's where it feels balanced, especially if you're using like a house cue or a production cue. All that weight is in the butt of the cue. And if you have a short arm span, you're going to have to be above that balance point, and it's going to feel a little awkward. So, yeah.
So if you could play a match or recreation, whatever, against anybody in the world, living or deceased, who would that be? Who would you want to go ahead and spend some time on the pool table with versus anybody?
Jean Belucas.
Ah, Jean Belucas. Okay, why?
I think she was just so underrated, right? I mean, like a lot of people just don't. I would love to just like meet her. She's such a legend. There's so many people that don't even know. I mean, she just kind of like pioneered playing at that level and was competing with the men, and just, I mean, she's just fearless. I don't know if I'd necessarily like want to play against her, but I just want to be in the room with her. Just want to meet her.
That's real good.
Yeah, you should try to interview her. That'd be a good one.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that we would love to have on the show for sure.
Let's go with some really quick questions and answers here. So, cue stick, wood or carbon fiber? Do you have a preference for the shaft? Wood. Yeah. Glove or bare hand?
Bear.
8-ball or 9-ball?
8-ball.
Or straight pool last year, right? That's all you were doing?
Straight pool is my only, I mean, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the list. It wasn't one of the options.
Bar table or full-size tables?
9-foot.
Yeah.
Unless I'm playing 8-ball. 8-ball belongs on the bar table.
Yeah. Leagues or tournaments?
Tournaments.
Play the best pool of your life and lose, or play the worst pool of your life and win?
Best and lose.
Good stuff.
So for our viewers out there, what's one piece of advice you would give to anyone trying to improve their pool game?
The one thing that most everyone can really benefit from is keeping their cue stick more level.
That's really good.
Yeah, I always say find the table, right? Like find the table with the butt of your cue. Even surprisingly, like a lot of really, really top players, I notice draw with a lot of elevation. It's wild.
So maybe when you get on a shot, find the table, set it down, and then go up just a little bit if that's what feels comfortable, but at least start at the point.
Really like an eighth of an inch of clearance is all you need from the base of the bottom of the cue but don't just pull your cue down, because then you've changed your mechanics, right? So really try to lower your entire top half of your body. Yeah. Find the table.
That's terrific.
That's
were
great.
you paramount in getting the women's pro tour to Denver last year? Was that a big part of what? Did you have a big part in that?
Perhaps.
Do you think that's going to happen in our locale here in Colorado coming up next year? Or this year, I guess it is. We got a new year.
Yeah. Oh, can I plug something else I'm working on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At Crooked Q, as a matter of fact. I think we've just confirmed the location. I am currently on the planning committee for the Colorado State Games inaugural senior event, which is defined as 50 and over. And the event is going to be held in early June. So stay tuned for that.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful new hall that Jeremy just went down last weekend and saw, and it's a gem down here. The owner's done a really great job with that place, and I know there's a lot of big-name players across the country that are looking forward to coming through here.
Yeah, that's exciting. And if anybody is interested in contacting you for instruction, remind us again how they could do that.
Thank you. It's sammdiep.com, SAMMDIEP.
I know I had introduced you as Samm Vidal because I saw that on your email. Do you go by either one these days?
Yeah.
Great.
interchangeable.
Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the description. And thanks for joining us, Sam.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's been fantastic. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share the podcast and make some comments, because Sam will look back in and maybe even answer some of your questions or comments too. So appreciate you being on Cue the Experts today.
Yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Keep practicing, and may all your shots be on target.